All right, welcome to another edition of Off Topic. My name is Randy Zellea, courtesy of BackSportsPage.com. Joining me, a good friend of the show, a good friend of BackSportsPage.com. He contributes where he can. He is the host of FSP Nation Radio's NBA show, the one and only Gary A. Gary, what's going on, buddy?
What's up, man? Hey, we might have sports again.
Nah, just kidding. We're not really going to have sports again.
Maybe. It's possible. Come on. We're getting there. It's almost a month away. We're getting there. I tell you, I'm like actually pumped up for finally I'm like beginning to allow myself to get kind of excited.
You can tell you're excited. You're wearing your Lakers outfit. It's like, oh my God.
It's a throwback. It's not that I expect they're going to win a title or anything, but you know.
Well, it's the simple fact of the matter is I'm glad that sports might be on its way back. We'll see where it really goes. Bill and I were talking about this morning. Do we think the NBA is going to try it? Yes. I think if it becomes like a major outbreak when more people are going to come up positive COVID-19, we'll see if it's one thing for it to start. We got to get to the NBA finals, got to get to Major League Baseball being on the field, got to get to the NFL going. So we'll see. So, I wanted to do this, and I figured I'd have you on, and so we can talk a little bit. We'll hit a couple NBA stories, a couple topics. You and I will get into the LeBron-Michael debate, which we love getting into, on how you think you think that Michael Jordan, but in your NBA fantasy world, Michael Jordan doesn't get off the bench. And, I'm just saying, this is...
I wouldn't call the seventh best player of all time not getting off the bench.
Look, for most people, and I think if you go to 100 people, they say Michael Jordan. If you say who's the most recognizable basketball players of all time, Michael Jordan's getting into that conversation.
Oh, definitely. 100%.
Okay.
Bro, recognizable and best are two very different things.
Okay. Look, it's a simple fact of the matter is
you get me started already, Randy. We're barely 2 minutes into this.
We're 2 minutes and 30 seconds and we're ready to kill each other. It's just the way it is.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, look, for me, it's too much. Let's get back to the world of having fun and getting into sports. So let's talk about. Let's go back a little bit. Let's start. Before we start talking about our friendship and the stuff that we talk about all the time, and we joke about the LeBron Michael thing. Let's talk about the NBA. Let's talk about where we left off. Where we left off was the Milwaukee Bucks had the NBA's best record. Mm-hmm. I know you and I argue, especially since you're wearing a Lakers shirt, you're showing your unbiasedness by wearing a Lakers shirt.
Absolutely.
With that being said, the Lakers had the top spot in the West. The NBA Eastern Conference was held by Milwaukee. And I got to tell you, there was a lot more questions in the league about spots in both conferences, spots 3 through 8 and further down. Not as much 1 and 2. I have the standings right here. In the Eastern Conference, the Milwaukee Bucks 53-12, Toronto 46-18, Boston 43-21, Miami 41-24, Indiana 39-26, Philadelphia 39-26, the Nets 30-34. Wow, that's awful. And 30-35 for the Orlando Magic, with the Washington Wizards 24-40. Everybody else in the Eastern Conference, the Hornets, the Bulls, the Knicks, the Pistons, and the Cavs, all eliminated, all gone.
Right. Gone.
In the Western Conference, the Lakers won. Much more balanced. The Lakers won, the Clippers 2, the Nuggets 3, Jazz 4, Thunder 5, Rockets 6, Dallas 7, Memphis 8, Portland 9, New Orleans 11, San Antonio 12, Phoenix 13. So, and if you look at the standings in the Western Conference, the Houston Rockets are 9.5 games back, and they're tied with the Thunder, and they're a game behind Utah at the 4 spot. And the Jazz are a game and a half behind Denver for 3, and the Clippers are a game and a half up in the 2 spot. So very competitive. A lot can happen when they come back to do this 8-game regular season. In the East, real quick, I'm going to go backwards. I'm going back to the Eastern Conference. Three games difference between 2 and 3. It's safe to say that Toronto is locked up the number 2 spot.
Yes.
Boston has a 2.5 game lead over the Miami Heat for the 3 spot. And the Pacers and Philadelphia are tied for the 5 spot, 2 games behind Miami in the 4 spot. And the Nets are far behind in the 7 spot. So here's, I guess, my question for the Eastern Conference. Can anybody beat Milwaukee in a 7-game series? Okay, who do you got?
So. I think the best team, the team with the best chance to beat Milwaukee is Philadelphia. And I've said this all season long. I've not been down on Philly like a lot of other people have. And I'm not saying that I would pick Philly to beat Milwaukee because I wouldn't. But Philly has one thing that no other team has in the East for sure, and maybe in the entire league. They have 4 bodies on their roster that are all big enough, athletic enough, and nimble enough to take shifts guarding Giannis. So their ability to throw bodies at him, which you've heard, as I have over many years, Randy, coaches always say, when you're dealing with a great player, an unstoppable player, you just have to throw different looks at him as much as you can and try to confuse him, try to throw him off his game just a little bit. Philly has the personnel to do that better than any other team. So if they're able to be consistent enough offensively, which is the big question mark with them, I believe that defensively they have enough horses to throw at Giannis to slow him down better than any other team. I look at Miami, they're probably the next best matchup for them, but I think Miami, while there's questions about Philly's ability to remain consistent offensively, there's not really a lot of questions about their offensive firepower when they are playing well. Miami played great the first half of the season, have had a great season. Jimmy Butler's been incredible, but I feel that they come up a weapon or two short offensively against Milwaukee, more so than Philadelphia does. Philly has to play consistently, but they have the pieces to do it. I feel like Miami just doesn't have enough firepower offensively, even though they have a good shot defensively. And I think of Boston the other way. I feel like Boston has all they need offensively to take on Milwaukee, but they don't have the people to really guard Giannis. And Toronto just doesn't have the top until I see them beat another team that I consider a finals contender in that conference. I'm not going to believe in Toronto this year without Kawhi Leonard. It's just as simple as that, even as much as I like Siakam. So to answer your question, I think it's Philadelphia, and a close second is Miami. One team I didn't mention, which I think is going to be maybe the most interesting team to watch in the reset, is Indiana. I mean, look, Victor Oladipo had come back before the lockdowns. He hadn't been himself. The team wasn't playing well with him. Now they've had the equivalent of an offseason and change to kind of reset their minds a little bit. We'll see what they look like. They could be a complete dark horse in the East. But to answer your question, I think it's Philadelphia for me.
Okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate because that's what I do. I do it very well. I do it very well with you, by the way.
You do.
Okay. So let's start with Philadelphia. Philadelphia 76ers can't even stand being around each other right now, okay? They welcomed this break. They're like, this is just not a well-constructed team. The backcourt has been in question all season long. The front court might be one of the best in basketball between Harris, Embiid, and Horford. Horford's a great locker room guy. The Celtics just didn't want to pay him, and we had quite a few guys, including Cedric Maxwell, on the Hardwood Huddle, and we were discussing Horford. If Horford was on that team right now, that'd be the most dangerous team in the Eastern Conference.
Boston,
yes. Yeah, Boston would be. Yeah, there's not a doubt in my mind. Yep. Philadelphia is not built right now to be a contender. They're just not. The way their team is constructed and how at the trade deadline they did not address it is beyond me. So. I look at really quickly. I'm going to go down the Eastern Conference. Milwaukee is Milwaukee. From 1 all the way down to 15, they have players where if you need to call their number, they're going to be able to go out and to contribute. That's fine. There's no doubt in my mind the Milwaukee Bucks are set to go to the NBA Finals. But who's going to give them a fight? I like the Toronto Raptors just for the simple fact of, I'm going down the line of the playoffs. Yep. The seedings. The Toronto Raptors have the us versus the world attitude. They're the championship pedigree. They have the battle scars from last year. Yes, they don't have Kawhi Leonard, who was amazing for them last year. And I'm not saying they're going to upset them.
Faraway line, Randy. That's a big deal.
I know. I'm not saying it isn't. I'm not going to throw that against them, saying they can't go there. They can't go out there and make noise. They've won plenty of pretty big games during the regular season. This past year, up until we had the shutdown. The Raptors are the defending champions. I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to do. Are they going to go to the NBA Finals? Most likely not, but it's going to be fun to watch what they do. The Boston Celtics, they have no front court help. And all the games I've watched them play the first part of the year, Everything was a 3-point shooting contest instead of just going to the basket. And the problem is they have no bigs, which in the playoffs, when it starts going to a half-court game, that is going to catch up and hurt them against a team like Philadelphia, against a team like Milwaukee, and a team against like the Toronto Raptors.
Even Miami.
To a point, Miami. I'm getting there. I'm getting to Miami.
Okay.
I'm getting. Trust me, I'm getting to Miami. The Miami Heat. No, so that to me is Boston. I like Kemba Walker. I'm glad that he has talent around him for the first time in his career. Bill Ingram and I agree on that. But my biggest thing with him, with this Boston Celtic team, is they're 3-ball heavy. They're 3-ball heavy. And Cedric Maxwell told us that Jason Tatum hasn't picked up a basketball in 2 months. So now that the season's coming back, he better get his butt back in basketball shape. So, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Kemba Walker might be the best 1 through 3, backcourt and small forward in the league. But I think right now their front court is so light, and I'm sorry for putting such an emphasis on it, but it's a big deal. And especially losing Marquise Morris, who was excellent for them in the NBA Eastern Conference Finals against the Cleveland Cavaliers, basically no-showed last year. Apparently, I guess he wasn't a Kyrie fan either. So I guess that's the best way of saying it. So I look at the Boston Celtics as a team that, if you're a team that's going to get knocked out in round 1, it could be Boston. It just matters their matchup. And we talk about the Indiana Pacers. We're going to scroll down to the next season, the Miami Heat, before we get to Indiana. My biggest problem with Miami is I love Dragic and Jimmy Butler. I love that combination. I just think that they overachieved so much in that during the year this year that they it was like, whoa, okay, now we're gonna have to, once it gets serious, their weaknesses are going to be exploited because nobody saw them coming. Jimmy Butler was an MVP candidate this year. That's how great he was. He got banged up a little bit right before we canceled, before we postponed the season. He got banged up a little bit. The team started to struggle, but they are lacking weapons. When you come back out and you say Andre Iguodala was our big acquisition at the trade deadline, let's just say expectations should be lowered down in Miami. So just putting it fair that way. The number 5 seed, the Indiana Pacers, like you just said, interesting to see where they come back with Victor Oladipo. And just looking at this team, Nate McMillan deserves a gold star for what he's been able to do with this team over the last 3 seasons, because he basically has been able to take this team with guys who, like I like to say, loose parts, and make them a contender. They're competing in the Eastern Conference, and they're fighting hard. They're not an easy out. They pushed Cleveland 2 years ago in the first round to 7 games. Last year they were banged up in the playoffs, weren't able to make as much noise. Don't sleep on Indiana, and I think they might be able to knock out the Miami Heat in the first round of the playoffs. So don't sleep on them to possibly make some noise and cause some headaches. The number 6 seed is the Philadelphia 76ers. We discussed the backcourt situation, not good. Front court's amazing. I think the best 3 front court guys you can have. And look, Ben Simmons, if you're going to be a big-time player in this league, you have to learn how to shoot the ball. I'm sorry.
I don't really think so. When you're someone the size and athletic talent of Ben Simmons with that type of court vision and playmaking skill, I don't think he needs to shoot the ball. In fact, if I was coaching him, I would tell him, don't shoot the ball. Like, keep attacking the rim, because maybe when he's 30, 32, 33, perhaps, but then I don't even think he needs to then. I think at that point, you just have him play in the high post and use his playmaking skills from the post. I really think there's a way to make Ben Simmons an elite player without a jump shot. I just don't think it's a necessary ingredient given his unique skill set and the size he brings to the table and the IQ he brings to the table. I don't think he needs a jump shot. I really don't. I think he needs jump shooters around him, absolutely. But I don't think he himself needs to be a shooter.
Look, at the end of the day, he has to be able to lead this team and be able to create on his own. I'm not saying he's not able to do that, but there's got to be a point where he can start learning to shoot free throws and take jump shots. The final 2 seeds in the Eastern Conference, the Nets, look, no Kevin Durant, no Kyrie Irving, no thank you. This, you went through a coaching change during the year this year. It's just and same thing with Orlando. Look, Steve Clifford is doing the best he can with what he got down in Orlando. this team is overachieving. If he wasn't there, I don't know what they'd be doing. And look, the Washington Wizards are still not going to have John Wall. Bradley Beal's still carrying the load down there. That is what it is. Let's move over to the Western Conference, Mr. Aid, and where you can beat me up a little bit. And I'm looking forward to this.
All right, what do we got? We got the Lakers, we got the Clippers, we got the Nuggets.
All right, so let's start with the Lakers. You and I are going to have a conversation about the Los Angeles Lakers. You're going to tell me why you're going to be hanging that jersey with a championship banner, and I'm going to tell you why they'll be eliminated in the conference finals. Go ahead.
Well, I think the main thing for the Lakers, and I've said this all year, is that, and again, all these predictions and analyses are dependent on us actually having a season still, and of course, how teams come back and respond to this very unprecedented way of doing things. But I think the environment that we're going to see here is going to heavily favor veteran teams. The playoffs always favor veteran teams. We all know that. But I think that's going to be exacerbated even more so this year because there is no fans to pick you up. So even though you don't have to play on the road, you're essentially not playing at home either. You're kind of playing in a bubble. And I think that it's the role players and the young teams that feed off of crowds more so than veteran teams. And as a result, teams that are veteran-led, I think, are going to have a larger advantage this postseason than they do every other postseason when they have a significant advantage. So that plays to the hands of the Lakers. It certainly plays to the hands of the Clippers and the Milwaukee Bucks. Like those teams come to the top. I think Denver could run into some trouble. I think potentially teams like Miami might run into some problems here, Philadelphia. But I'll say this about the Lakers. The reason I picked them all year long is I think that at the end of the day, in the NBA playoffs, it's not so much how good you are 1 through 9. It's how good you are 1 through 3, or even if you're really special, 1 through 2. And I think LeBron James and Anthony Davis together, the way they've played all year, fits into that really special category. Dare I say that Kobe and Shaq category. I think this is a dynamic duo, the likes of which we haven't seen since that duo of Kobe and Shaq. And I think it's going to be enough. I think they got enough other pieces filled with veteran players who will make veteran plays. They got a pretty solid coach in Frank Vogel. They got a very good bench. I think they got the best player in the world still. And in my opinion, they got enough. And I think the Clippers' biggest issue is they have too much of a good thing. They have too many chefs in the kitchen, too many guys who play two similar styles and are going to need minutes, and there's not enough minutes to go around. I just like the Lakers in this playoff, so I'm picking them.
No, that's a fair pick. Look, the Lakers. Here's my pros for the Lakers and the cons for the Lakers. Okay, my pros for the Lakers. Look, you got LeBron James, Anthony Davis. All right, Kuzma is still a special talent. I still like him. I still think he can come out. I still think he can come out and drop 35 on you any night of the week.
Absolutely can.
When Rajon Rondo, well, I can't believe this. I'm saying this. Rajon Rondo has been very, very stable for them. Coming off the bench, he's been able to
playoff Rondo. Rondo. Different Rondo.
And Danny Green is still one of the best shooters in the NBA. Doesn't play defense to save his life, but he can shoot the ball. I'm worried about the Lakers' backcourt situation, just like Philadelphia's. I worry about their backcourt situation. I know LeBron handles the ball majority of the time. They have a system that's working out for them, but I just think there's some other complete teams out there. And look, you said this to me in the past about Jordan, about the Jordan rules and the way things are for certain players. If you're going to start looking at things like that, you can't tell me they're not going to have this whole thing with Kobe. This is the Lakers' year, this and that. And
if they're gonna play that game, that's all well and good. But I think the bottom line here is, in a game that's obsessed with 3-point shooting, having two guys that can score from anywhere on the floor and another guy who's probably the best shot creator for others since John Stockton. I think the Lakers, I don't think they need a backcourt. I think when you have LeBron James and you have Anthony Davis and you have a roster full of veteran shooters who know how to get to their spots, get open, and make those shots under pressure, I'm not worried about it. But like, I have a point guard. His name's LeBron James. What do I need anyone else for? And if I need to spell LeBron, I have Rondo to back him up. Or if I want to play a 2 ball dominant lineup for some reason, I can play them together. I think they got all they need right there.
My question for you now becomes, if not the Lakers, then who?
I like Denver.
I let's see if Jokic gets back on the court.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, everything I'm saying here presumes guys who are significant are playing. Like the fact that the Lakers have J.R. Smith instead of Avery Bradley doesn't change anything.
I think that's a very big difference because Avery Bradley was a key point to their defense.
Yeah,
Avery Bradley was their anchor for the guard. He was able to
for the second unit. I believe Danny Green could fill that void. I believe you could play Rondo in that role if you want to. I think even J.R. Smith can still guard some guys here and there when his mind is focused. Look, would I rather Bradley than Smith? Yes, but do I think it moves the needle significantly one way or the other? No, I don't. I think you can easily work around role players when you're a team like the Lakers that have a number of guys in that 2 and 3 role player category that are capable of doing a lot of the same things. So I'm not too worried about that. But my statements are assuming guys like LeBron, AD, Jokic, Kawhi, Paul George, they're assuming those guys are playing. Obviously, if anyone like that doesn't play for their team, that changes the conversation.
I'll go with that. I'm going to give you that one.
I got one. All right.
Yeah,
I should
might
be
now. Let's go with the Los Angeles Clippers.
Yes.
And look, I've said this before, and I'll say this again. I really like the Clippers. I think they're balanced out. I think Doc Rivers holds guys accountable when need to be. And look, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, we're waiting for this experiment to see if it's really going to work. I think it is.
Okay.
I think it is, and I just like the amount of talent that they have around each guy, around their team. Around their team, they have everybody there who's going to be, what's the right way of saying this without being like jerkish, but man, I really do think that team is set up to win a championship this year.
Okay. And I mean, they certainly could. I mean, I certainly think of them as a title contender also. I just do not believe in let's put it this way. I think LeBron's better than Kawhi Leonard. But if we want to say that's a push, that's fine. I don't think in any way anyone can make a reasonable argument to tell me that Paul George is as good as Anthony Davis. I think Anthony Davis is clearly a better player. And I think that is the difference in the series. You talk about the Clippers' depth. That depth would concern me more if the Lakers' depth was a bunch of young players. It's not. The Lakers' depth is a bunch of veteran players, many of whom have won titles. Every one of them has made deep playoff runs. And to me, that fact makes it a lot easier for the Lakers' lesser talented veteran players to cancel out the advantage in depth talent that the Clippers have. Many of those depth players, by the way, for the Clippers have not won titles. That plays a role. So I think the difference in ability between Anthony Davis and Paul George is really the largest advantage that either team has. I think the Lakers' second best player is a lot better than the Clippers' second best player. And I think that's the difference. And I personally think LeBron's better than Kawhi. But for the sake of this argument, I'm conceding that those two are equals and will cancel each other out.
No, okay, that's fair. Look, I also like Lou Williams coming off the bench. I also like. I just like.
I love Lou Williams. But my question with Lou Williams is now you have the kid from Indiana that they signed at the end of the year. I'm drawing a blank on his name right now. Darren Collison. You also have Patrick Beverley. You have 3 small, quick guards.
I love Patrick Beverley.
I do too.
I love me some Patrick. I love me some Patrick Beverley, man.
But what are you going to do? What are you going to do with all 3 of them? Then you have Morris. What are you going to do with him? I mean, they have so many guys who deserve to be in the rotation. They don't have enough spots for them. I think that's going to cause issues. I really do.
Let's go down to the night. I think it's the Clippers over the Lakers. That's just me. let's go back to it now with the Denver Nuggets.
Mhm.
Look, I'm not willing to hitch my car to that wagon, man. Or I'm that horse to that wagon. I just don't want to do it. I just don't think Jokic is the guy who you're going to say, win me that game.
I don't think you need to have your best player do that. I think you can, like the Detroit Pistons' best player was a guy who averaged 6 points a game for his career. I don't think you need to be that. I really think Jokic is perfectly capable of making a game-winning shot. He's a 20-point-plus scorer. He's such a great facilitator. He's such a quality player who plays with such a level of IQ and intelligence. It's incredible. And for the same reasons, now, do I think the Denver Nuggets are winning the title this year? No, I don't. If I was going to handicap them, I would probably put them as the third or fourth best team in the NBA right now, behind the Lakers, the Bucks, and probably the Clippers. But for the same reason that you like the Clippers over the Lakers, I like the Nuggets at least as much as I like the Clippers, because unlike the Clippers, the Nuggets have depth, but they don't have a overabundance of depth where they're going to potentially trip over each other, and there's going to potentially be guys who are upset with their role. This is a team that's been together for a couple of years now. They have a lot of different pieces. Guys 2 through 6 are basically the same player, but they all play slightly different positions. They're all comfortable in their role. They know exactly what's expected of them. And that type of cohesion, I think if they ended up playing the Clippers in a conference finals or semifinals type of matchup, it wouldn't surprise me at all to see them beat the Clippers, because I think they have a cohesion advantage. Would I pick them over the Clippers? I probably wouldn't. I probably assume that Kawhi Leonard and Paul George and Lou Williams would figure out a way to win a series with them. But would it surprise me if the Clippers fell to the Nuggets? Not at all. I think the Nuggets are that good.
Okay, no, that's fair. Look, again, it's a young team, a good coach. They're not winning these games by mistake. You know what I mean? And right. I just can't see it yet. We'll see how it goes. The 4 seed is the Utah Jazz. I'm very interested to see. Everyone's making a big deal about Gobert and Donovan Mitchell and where's the relationship there, and does this guy hate this guy? Does this guy hate that guy? Look, at the end of the day, they're professionals. They said they kissed and make up. Are they just saying it to get the media off their back? Look, at the end of the day, man, the Utah Jazz is a talented team playing in this very small market. A lot of people don't know a lot about them. I'm a firm believer that team might cause a little bit of headaches to the Lakers.
I think they could cause a headache to anybody, including the Lakers. I agree. I mean, I look at the Jazz. The key to them is, did this break make Mike Conley better? Did it get him in a headspace where he's like, okay, I know what I did wrong. I can fix it. This is where I have to do here. Because if that's not the case, then I don't believe they're a real threat to anybody, because the same problem they had last year would be present again in the event that Mike Conley is not Mike Conley, which is they just don't have another shot creator outside of Donovan Mitchell on a consistent basis. And unlike some of these other teams, their other guys, their role player guys, are not offensive players. So when you take that into account, it is absolutely critical in my mind that Mike Conley is much more of the Memphis Mike Conley than the Mike Conley we saw the first 2/3 of this season, his inaugural year with the Jazz. If that's not the case, I wouldn't even be surprised if they lost in the first round. I think that's how important he is for them.
And you say the first round, that would be the Houston Rockets. Apparently, you and I can join the team, and we're all on the same height.
That's right. That's right.
Okay. They have no big man. It is comical. It is sad. This is Bill's favorite thing to complain about. When we had Larry Brown on this show, we were discussing this, and my God, what are they doing in Houston? And we were not really able to come up with much of an answer. No. Maybe you're able to do it. I'm certainly not able to figure it out.
I got you. I don't even have to say anything.
Yeah, this is, I just don't get it.
Numbers. It's all about the numbers. They are all about the analytics. They spend way too much time with this and way too little time talking about this basketball. The guy that runs this team belongs in an accountancy office with Ernest & Young, not running the front office of an NBA roster. He's an abomination in terms of understanding what actually it takes to win on the court. He's all about metrics, all about analytics, and all about quantifiable statistics and data. And that's all great and all, but you know what? You know what doesn't win titles? Data. You know what wins titles? Players. You know how players win? By having guys in their team that they can count on to do the things they can't do. You know what the Rockets can't do right now? Count on anyone to get a rebound. Why? Because they're 5'9".
Listen, PJ Tucker is your starting center. I don't want to hear about it. Look,
he's 36 years old and he's 6'4", and he's their best big man. That's inexcusable.
Look, at the end of the day, the Oklahoma City Thunder will knock out. Well, first off, if the Thunder right now is ahead, they're at the number 5 spot. Let's talk about them. We'll go back to Houston real quick. Look, for a team that was supposed to be finishing dead last in the conference, man, OKC really found a way to make some noise this year. Chris Paul, Danilo Gallinari, they made a lot of trades. They acquired a lot of draft picks, and they're competing. There's nothing more you can ask for this team right now. Do we call this the biggest upset of the year?
Well, it's certainly maybe the biggest surprise of the year. I don't know if they've upset anyone, but I mean, if they win a big playoff series, we could have that conversation. But I definitely, it's the biggest surprise of the year. I think so. I mean, the way you said it all, Randy, I mean, the way they've come out and really been a consistent performing team. But I'll tell you this, if I'm one of the top seeds, I'd much rather play Oklahoma City than Dallas.
Yeah. No, I agree with you on that. And then going back to the Houston Rockets, my opinion is this is piss poor management. I think at the end of the year, Harden or Westbrook, one of them is going to go, and I have a feeling it's going to be Westbrook because they invested so much into Harden down in that city. They can just easily handle a one and done with Westbrook. It'd be very interesting to see where they go with it. The number 7 seed is the Dallas Mavericks. Welcome back to the playoffs, Mark Cuban. I think he's very happy with the team. It's a stepping stone. They're in a great shape for 3 or 4 years down the line. He's not worried about as much this year as he would be 2-3 seasons down the road. Kristaps Porzingis still finding his footing coming back from missing all of last year. Luka, my God, you can just watch Luka play all day. And it's fun. Man,
it's the best.
Yeah, it really is.
Tremendous. I would say this. I said this shortly before my show went off the air along with the NBA during the pandemic. I believe Luka Doncic is a top 5 player in the NBA already today. Like there are not 5 guys I would take over him right now today. Like forget what might happen in 5 years. I'm talking about right now, June 29th, 2020. There are not 5 guys in the league today. If I had to win one game tomorrow, that I would rather than Luka Doncic. There might be 4. That's how good I think he is already today, right now. He's amazing, truly amazing. And what makes him incredible and what makes him at that level at such a young age for me is that he's got such a composure and such control over both his emotions and his game. The game is already super slow for him. He's already thinking a step or 2 ahead most of the time. But this is a guy who at 20, 21, whatever he is playing like a 30-year-old. And it's just incredible. Like outside of LeBron, Giannis, and maybe Kawhi, I don't think there's another guy in the NBA who would take over Luka right now today. And forget it if we're talking who'd you take to build your team around for the next 5 years. I don't even think there's another option.
No, I don't think so either. And then in the 8th spot, right now it is held by the Memphis Grizzlies. I really think the league is pushing for the New Orleans Pelicans to get there, and as they should, as they should. Listen. At the end of the day, I like me some Zion Williamson, especially him versus LeBron in round 1 would be fun. Look, San Antonio, Sacramento, Phoenix. I think this is the feel good story. If Pop can win out and get a little help make it in, that's the story of the year. We had one of the. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say as far as this 8 seed, I like Memphis, man. to me, John Morant's the most exciting player in this draft class. I love watching him play. I would love to see him and Clark have a shot in the playoffs, and there'd be a lot of fun.
And has there been
certainly put your Lakers backcourt theory to the test? Pretty good, wouldn't it, if that was their first round opponent?
Oh God, that'd be fun. Now here's a really good question. You ready?
Yeah.
Is there a bigger disappointment going into a season than the Portland Trailblazers?
That is a good question. Probably not. I mean, the only other team that I can think of, and they weren't really after what happened last year. I guess maybe it's not as big as a disappointment, but I just feel like every year Minnesota gets worse, and they really should be going the other direction. Like, was I expecting them to be like a real contender this year? No, but I thought they'd be competitive. I mean, and that's the thing. When you start talking about guys and you start talking about how talented Towns is, I think he's the poster child example of having to understand the difference between talent, statistical accomplishment, and being a great player. Because I'm sorry, great players don't have their team consistently in the bottom of the conference. Even at the depths of the Lakers' awfulness in the transition years between Shaq and Kobe and the Gasol and Odom team, they were, even the years where they were bad, they were at least interesting and competitive. And at the end of that stretch, they were competitive in a real sense. They took a 60-something win Suns team to 7 games before falling. So if you're a great player, your team has to at least look competent. They don't have, if your team's awful like that Lakers team was and like this Timberwolves team is, I don't expect you to even be in the playoffs or even necessarily be 500, but you have to be around there. You can't be 25 games under 500 like they are, or whatever it is. That's unexcusable. That might be the only one, Randy, that I would say is equally disappointing to me as Portland. Even though they're at different stages, like Portland's here and Minnesota's here, I was expecting Minnesota to still go like this, where I was expecting Portland to go like to not do anything, to kind of be the same team. So, and they went like this, but Minnesota went like this.
Yeah, the Minnesota has been awful.
They've been terrible. Awful. They're one of the worst teams in the NBA. And if you have a guy who's supposed to be a top 10 player, top 15 player, you can't have that.
Well, what was even funnier, and I think you will agree with me on this, Bill Ingram and I were talking with one of the announcers from the Golden State Warriors on the Hardwood Huddle. That's another podcast that I do. Check it out, backsportspage.com. Got to show the other show while I'm on here.
Got to do the plugs, man. Absolutely. Got to do them. It's a radio rule. It's a broadcasting rule.
Oh, God, yeah. So, with that being said, look, we were talking about on how the Warriors are sitting like, all right, go to it. Next year, Steph, Clay, Andrew Wiggins, Draymond Green, and guys, their bench is going to be like so much better and much more experienced after all these young kids got to play. Next year is going to be Warriors revenge. So they're going to be ready for the NBA next season for everybody who pissed on the Warriors this year, because it's going to be ugly. It's going to get ugly real quick when the Warriors are at full strength again next season.
And we'll see. And we'll see what full strength looks like. I mean, look, ACL injuries are nothing to sneeze about. And, Steph Curry, we've determined, is made out of fiberglass already. So, we'll see if they hold up. But, certainly that could be the case. I mean, they certainly have the roster for it. And it will be fun to see Andrew Wiggins playing on a team with a lot of structure. That'll be interesting to watch.
All right, let's do some plugs. Let's let everybody know where they can find where they can find the Aid Man. Where are you?
Well, right now I'm in my living room. You might see behind me my cat sleeping on top of the dresser, but that's one thing.
Not your house.
I think Randy met my radio show, so let's do that. You got to be specific with me, Randy. Come on. Has it been that long? You don't remember this already? Come on, man. You can find us on SB Nation Radio. We are going back on the air in the week of July 20th. Look for an announcement sometime after the 4th of July on a specific date and time slot. I do believe it's going to be a weekend slot. I don't have the specifics yet. I'll have them sometime after the 4th of July holiday, but it will be the week of July 20th. We're a once-a-week show, 2 hours a week, live programming. Randy's a frequent guest on it. Bill Ingram, he's mentioned a few times, is also a frequent guest. Some other guys as well. So it's definitely a great show. We talk NBA all year long. And interesting factoid, Randy, I was on the air. I like to say this because it's a kind of an interesting story. I was on the air when the NBA suspended its season for COVID, which was the first thing that shut down when COVID happened. So I broke the news of COVID. A guy who talks basketball 2 hours a week was the breaking news guy for the biggest pandemic in 100 years. Go figure.
Well, I think that's a great story. That's a fun story.
Isn't that great?
It's funny. It's like, I don't know how you follow that.
You say, damn it, Gary, why'd you bring us in the cooties? That's what you should say.
I know what the simple fact of the matter is. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. I guess it's like, yeah, great.
So what you're saying is you're the bearer of bad news.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And, hey, you're the one who told me when Kobe died. I remember I was driving to an appointment, and when I was talking to you, you're the one that broke that news. So we both had our share of bad news breakers this year, unfortunately.
Yeah, sadly, yes. Gary, listen, but I appreciate you coming on. You can also find Gary's stuff, his writing stuff over at backsportspage.com.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting ready to do some previews, buddy. Welcome back previews. I
got the Lakers.
You can do that as long as Mr. Ingram says it's okay.
All right, I'll talk to the principal. Well, he's a teacher, but he might be the principal pretty soon.
Yes. All right, Gary. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it, bud, and we'll definitely catch up soon.
All right, man. Thanks, Randy.
You got it. Check out more Off Topic coming up, possibly either later on today or later in this week. Some more great guests, some more great sports talk, and just some more laughs on the Back Sports Page radio and webcast network. Thanks again. We'll talk to everybody either later on today or maybe even tomorrow. We'll see what's going on. Otherwise, peace out.